Welcome to part 2 of the Fisherman and the Kaha bird. We are moving on to some new learning targets this week. We're going to be looking at illustrations. So, our learning targets are I can make connections to identify similarities between the text of a story and a visual representation of the text. I can show I understand by finding connections between the words in the text and the illustrations. I know I have it when I can find specific evidence in the text and explain how both the illustrations and the text work together to tell a story. So, I have taken a clip of the story, the Fisherman and the Kaha bird. I chose to look at pages 96 and 97. Now, the cool part about the illustrations in The Fisherman and the Kaha bird is they take up all of the space, and then the words are kind of part of the illustrations, which makes a really great visual representation. So, let's go ahead and look at the question we need to answer. How do the illustrations on page 96 and 97 help you understand the fisherman's predicament? So first, let's go ahead and talk about what does the word predicament mean? Predicament means that you're in trouble or you have a problem that you need to solve. So let's look at the illustrations. What problem did the fisherman have? Well, um, as we can see, we have the fisherman up here. He's in the sky and he's holding on to the Kaha bird who is soaring upward into the sky. So his predicament is he is now flying through the air, which is very dangerous, and he didn't catch the Kaha bird, which is a serious problem for him later in the story. So let's go ahead and start with race because we still want to make sure that we're citing evidence. So, how do the illustrations on page 96 and 97 help you understand the fisherman's predicament? So, I'm going to take out my question word and the word do and my question mark. Now, when it comes to uh, having the page numbers in my answer, I don't really need those. That's part of my citing evidence sentence, which will come later after I answer the question. So I'm going to just take that part out. So the illustrations help you understand the fisherman's predicament. So the illustrations help me to understand the fisherman's predicament. And then we're going to add our famous word, because. All right, let's rewrite it. The illustrations help me understand the fisherman's predicament because they show how high the Kaha bird was in the sky. So as we can see, that's a really long way up. Now, these are illustrations, not photographs. So we know that they're exaggerated, especially because this is a folk tale. So in the text, it says, now I need to look back in the text because I need to figure out how do the text and the illustrations work together. I already said how the illustrations work, so now I need to cite the text. So on page 97, it says, looking down, the fisherman could barely see the river below. If he hadn't betrayed the Kaha, he would not be in this predicament. But there was one thing to do. The fisherman let go of the bird's feet. The servants and the fisherman tumbled from the sky and landed in the river. So in the text, it says that the fisherman could barely see the river below, which means that he was really, really high in the sky. When something is far away from us, we know that when something is small, we can tell that it's far away from us. So in the text, it says, the fisherman could barely see the river. Okay, now I'm going to explain that evidence. This shows that the fisherman is in trouble because if he falls, we know he's going to get hurt. Okay, let's go ahead and read the whole answer. The illustrations help me understand the fisherman's predicament because they show how high the Kaha bird was in the sky. In the text, it says the fisherman could barely see the river. This shows that the fisherman is in trouble because if he falls, he will get hurt. Okay, and that is how we use both the illustrations and the text. As you can see, I pointed out things in my illustrations and I underlined and used evidence from the text. Those two things work together to help us understand the story better. So let's go back to our learning targets. So I can make connections to identify the similarities between the text of a story and visual representation. Our visual representation in this story is the illustrations. Okay, I can show I understand by finding connections between the words and the text in the illustrations. We did that. We found things in the illustrations that made sense with the text, and we found specific evidence in the text that helped explain the illustrations. So that is what we're going to be working on this week, and I hope you enjoyed the story of the fisherman and the Kaha bird.